Hey, welcome to the show. Grant Cohn, Coach Noah Johnston, who's been gone for the last couple of shows. He was in Mexico getting engaged. So congratulations to Coach Noah Johnston, who now has a fiance. No big deal. Humble brag. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
Mazel tov, as we would say.
My aunt actually gave me mazel tov. My aunt.
You got a mazel tov? You already got a mazel tov.
My aunt is Jewish, so she gave me the mazel tov.
It's always good to get a mazel tov. Multiple mazels.
Except she just said mazel. She didn't, but
there you go.
Yeah.
But you knew what it meant.
Yeah, I knew what it meant. Yeah,
exactly. All right. So OTAs start today. I'll be there tomorrow. I'll be watching practice, and then the next day, no, I don't get to watch practice, but I get to interview people. It's like 3 or 4 weeks of this. I get to see a few practices. I guess the question is, what will I be looking for, and like, what would you be looking for if you were there? But first, the news: Deebo's not gone. I don't know if Niner fans thought he would or whatever because they didn't trade him, but not. I didn't even spell that right, so I'm going to try that again. He's not going or coming to OTAs. What should the Niners be concerned? Should fans be concerned, in your opinion?
No. Deebo doesn't have anything to prove, at least not on the field, except, if anything, you stay healthy, but that OTA isn't going to help him with that. And it's standard procedure when you're in contract negotiations is not to show up for anything that you don't need, that's necessary or not necessary. And OTAs are not necessary.
Yeah. I mean, now here's the thing. This doesn't mean the Niners aren't concerned, though. The Niners could be extremely concerned about the Deebo Samuel situation, but I don't think this changes anything. They had to have expected this. You think they were sitting there like, maybe he shows up to OTAs? No.
It's not out of
your calls.
It happens all the time with players in contract negotiations. It's not abnormal. So, I wouldn't be concerned. Would you love to have him show up anyways? Yeah, but it typically doesn't happen. I think what Fred Warner was an exception, not the rule.
I think it's too bad, though. And it's not Deebo's fault, but it's too bad that it's come to this because ideally, new quarterback, didn't get a lot of first-team reps last year, was running scout team last year. Frankly, hasn't played with the starters that much. Every rep counts. You'd like him to have these reps. It's not going to make or break things, but it, as my Jewish brethren would say, it couldn't hurt. Like, are you kidding?
Right?
It couldn't hurt. Like, it would really be nice if he was there, and the Niners could have prioritized this and given him what, broken the precedent, changed things up, paid him what he needed, just so he'd be there with Trey, just to make this as smooth as possible. But they didn't. And I think, again, there's consequences for their choices. So Trey's going to be out there trying to impress the team and show that he's the guy. Really, we're all going to be looking for that, right? How'd Trey look? How did Trey look? He looked good. He didn't have Deebo. He looked like a quarterback on the 49ers who didn't have Deebo. I think there's going to be some of that.
And there's going to be probably some of, Deebo's not there because Trey's the quarterback. Right? Uh-huh. Yeah, that's why he didn't show up.
Right. Yeah. And you're going to have someone with lipstick tattooed on their neck, you know what I'm saying, and like a hat pulled real low, rapping about it. I would just get on TikTok. But that's the kind of thing that happens, on TikTok.
Yeah. That's got to be your next. That's got to be your next thing. A Niners rap, right? Can you?
Hell no. Hell no.
Can you give us a Jimmy G rap send off?
No, I don't rap.
No, absolutely. All right, guys. The best you're gonna get is maybe a couple more pats and.
Oh God, I'm so embarrassed that I was ever associated with that person. Sunil, I blame you. Okay. So Trey Lance is going to be getting his first extended reps with the starters at OTAs. I'm going to see it for the first time tomorrow, Tuesday. To me, I think it's really interesting. Like, I charted every freaking throw he did in 11-on-11s in training camp last year. He completed 69% of his throws. His TD to INT ratio was 3-1. It wasn't good enough, apparently. Like, the spreadsheet said in certain situations it wasn't good enough, like 2-minute drill or whatever. Like, he's going to get nitpicked to death. So, it just, to me, it has to look right. It's not necessarily what the numbers say. He kind of has to carry himself. He has to sound a certain way in the huddle. He's got to sort of like play the part and convince his teammates and everyone watching that he's comfortable and has like the year under his belt actually has helped him, and he has to like take command of the offense, and I don't even know what that looks like. And everyone's going to have a different opinion on whether he's done it. But he sort of has to like do this sort of vague, intangible thing. He has to take command. He has to look like a veteran who's in command of the offense. I don't know what that looks like. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think
or really, just a bunch of big plays every day. I don't know. What do you think?
As far as the command thing, I think really the coaches and the players are really only going to know that answer, right? Because they're in tune with what's going on. It's going to be little things like you're not going to be able to pick them up, whether if he doesn't understand the concept or he's not familiar with the play. Is he able to relay certain concepts to people that aren't familiar with them, like rookies and new signings, things like that. And I don't know that you'll be able to tell that, but other players and coaches certainly will. So you're only going to be able to you're only going to be evaluated what you kind of see on the field, and that's what you just said, big plays. I think what I would like to see is him not turn the ball over, because that's been kind of his MO, and I'd like to see it continue, because if it does continue, then it seems like that's part of his play style, and that would be ideal.
Yes, agree. There's more. I mean, I feel like what I like to do here in the offseason is, or in football in general, you evaluate the player, of course, but then you also have to step back and evaluate how he's being used. And this isn't like a good or bad, but like I'm curious to see what Kyle's going to do with him, because last year the way it looked to me was he started off with a bang. All the reports on Trey Lance were very positive at the beginning of training camp. He had him, throwing deep, doing play action, rolling out, the stuff that he excels at. Then when that got a little too loud, they put him in the gun and had him throw in a bunch of Jimmy Garoppolo stuff, and that's when the competition got tight. So and the way and that's how they used him in the preseason too. And the justification was, well, this is the time to work on your weaknesses. Fine. But if there's a competition, you're setting one guy up for success and one guy up to look bad. I'd like to see it. How does Kyle Shanahan approach Trey this year? Do you do that again? Is it time to work on his weaknesses? Or are you going to come out first time in front of the press with him as the first team quarterback and try to really impress people? Are you going to play to his strengths? Are you going to call a lot of play action stuff? Because when you do, it's very impressive, and people usually go, oh, wow, Trey Lance, oh, my God. Like, what kind of response does Kyle Shanahan want? Because he can pretty much choreograph whatever he wants.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I wouldn't be concerned about, like, if I was Kyle, like, I really wouldn't give a shit about what you or I thought or anything like that. What I would be trying to choreograph, if I would want my roster to start buying into Trey Lance. If anybody's on the fence or anything like that, I need them to buy in.
Absolutely.
It sounds like George Kittle's saying the right things, but is that what he really feels like internally? I don't know.
True.
And there's other guys and probably in the same boat, but you need those guys to really buy in. Like, you don't need Grant Cohn to buy into to Trey Lance.
But you know how it is. Like, when you're watching a practice, like, there's an energy. Everyone kind of feels if a guy's playing well or not. I mean, can you win over the people? It's not just the fan. It's not just your team, but it's like the front office. It's the owner if he's out there. Can you really win people over? Or are people going to go back and be like, well, he has some good series. He has a bad series.
The bar is Jimmy Garoppolo. So
what's tough for Trey is that Jimmy Garoppolo is a horrendous practice quarterback. But so he's not going to be judged on what he does this offseason. If he's even there, it doesn't matter, because his record speaks for itself. Trey has no record, so every single thing he does, every step he takes, every breath he takes, they'll be second guessing him. Is basically what's going to happen this year. So it's going to be a lot of that. He's under the microscope. Jimmy's not. Jimmy has a winning record. Everyone knows Jimmy's terrible in practice. He's working on stuff that he never fixes. that he never fixes. Anyway, so that's what I'm looking for with Trey. Of course, have you improved? Do you look like a guy who's been in the system for a year, essentially? Because I know you put up good numbers in camp last year, but you looked like a rookie. You looked a little, like you were tense, like you were pressing a lot. When you missed wildly. Do you look more comfortable, more calm? But more importantly, how does Kyle use? Is Kyle in his bag, so to speak, when he's calling plays for you, or is he like, I don't really know, it works?
I mean, I would like to see. I would like to see if that wobble isn't there.
The wobble.
If he's worked on that. He's had
Yeah.
he's had a little bit of issues with his throwing motion. Did he clean that up a little bit?
Yep. He's been working on it, right? He wants Tom House, right? So what's that look like?
So
yep.
Let's see. Is it cleaned up? Because this, if it's cleaned up, it would have been cleaned up by this time. Because you only have 2 months, less than 2 months till they report, right?
Also, he knows that he's under the microscope.
He does.
He knows that his completion percentage is going to be printed into every outlet daily. How does that impact him? Is he going to be out there playing conservatively because he wants to say that he completed 70% of his throws, or is he going to let it rip? Because I'm telling you, these things can get to a quarterback. They can affect how you perform. Curious.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, playing quarterback in the NFL, it's not for the faint of heart. So, and certainly not in this franchise. Where the history in that position and you've got a fan base that's been dying for a quarterback for a while. More or less since Steve Young, right?
Yes.
I mean, Jeff Garcia was very good, but he wasn't on that level, right? The Young and the Montana level.
Yes.
So there is a certain there definitely is a pressure that comes with an NFL quarterback, but then playing for the 49ers, it's an even added pressure.
Okay.
So, but I think he's equipped. I think he's equipped to handle it. We'll see if things pan out with him, but I don't think it'll if he fails, I don't think it'll be because he can't handle the pressure.
Wouldn't you love to know what he thinks privately? I mean, it's possible privately he's thinking, guys, come on. All I have to do is be better than Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
What are you guys all worried about? Like, I've been better than Jimmy Garoppolo.
It's like, I can actually make a 40-yard throw.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah, once Kyle Shanahan takes the handcuffs off me and lets me actually play my game in practice, it's over. Everyone's going to want me to be the quarterback, and no one's going to be clamoring for Jimmy. It's possible. Let's talk about someone. Let's talk about the players not named Trey Lance. I'm eager to watch. Not just the players, but like what I'm looking for, what you would be looking for, non-quarterback related. In OTAs, like they used to do more. They used to do one-on-ones. If they do one-on-ones in OTAs in any position group, I'm watching. One-on-ones to me are a big moment of truth. These are professional athletes. One guy wins, one guy loses.
Right.
I love that. So if it's they used to do pass rush in the OTAs, and that's when I realized that Mike McGlinchey was not going to be the truth. I mean, he was letting Cassius Marsh whoop him routinely, thinking, I don't know about this first round pick here. I don't know if they do that anymore, but if they do, I'm watching. Drake, you should be whooping Mike McGlinchey if he's out there. You should be whooping everyone not named Trent Williams if you're out there. That's what I'm looking for. And then also on offense, the wide receiver, like Danny Gray, you should be winning those one-on-one matchups because it's tough. Any DB who wins in one-on-one, I'm taking note of because it's so hard to win in those one-on-one things.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. I would say
also, offensive line. We got to. I mean, I always kind of forget. It's hard to judge trench play in the OTAs, but the Niners' biggest weakness is pass protection. So I'm going to do my best to be looking at that, not only in one-on-ones, but in 11-on-11s too. Even though the pass rush can't finish the play, was there pressure? And that's hard to judge. That's going to be very subjective, but we're all going to be trying to judge it.
I think you can definitely tell. I mean, if there's immediate pressure, like if he's beating them right away, I mean, that's really bad, right?
Yep.
It's harder to tell, like when it gets longer into the snap, it's harder to tell. But like immediate, yeah, that's troubling.
There's another thing this year too, since so many jobs are up for grabs. It's just going to be like reporting who played. This was the first team slot. Here's who cycled in at safety every day. Just a bunch of like depth chart stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's definitely a lot of open positions, right? You've got
right tackle, left guard,
right tackle, center. Guard, center. Yeah. What's going on at center?
I mean, Alex Mack's not going to be there.
Yeah,
he might show up for training camp, but he's not going to be here. So, who's going to be the starting center? All that stuff is going to be a big deal.
Right, and like I think one of the things is like what is their plan at nickel? Because
it doesn't appear to be Sam Womack. He played left cornerback at the rookie minicamp. The nickel was Quantrez Knight, who went to UCLA and is an undrafted free agent. So they must have – it must be Darqueze Dennard.
Yeah, it'll be
Johnston.
interesting. Who lines up there, and then who's getting reps there? What?
Maybe it's Mosley. Maybe – see, this is all the stuff that we should be able to see at first. Like, maybe Mosley's the nickel now. Who knows? Maybe Ambry Thomas is the outside. Maybe the starters are Ambry Thomas and Travarius Ward. Another thing I'm looking at, Travarius Ward. That was their big addition this offseason. They hyped him up like a number one cornerback. This dude was our top target. I want to see him. What's he look like against Ayuk? What's he look like against Brandon Ayuk? Can you cover – because there's a lot of wide receivers in the NFL who are better than Brandon Ayuk. No disrespect. Ayuk's a hell of a player.
Yeah.
But can you handle Ayuk? That's the first hurdle. If you can't cover Brandon Ayuk, you probably weren't worth the money. Right. We're not going to see how he does against Deebo.
No, we're not. Not at this point. We're not. And like you said, like if you're paying a guy that kind of money, you should be able to handle a guy like Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think so. I'm not sure he can. I'm not sure he can because Brandon Ayuk is pretty freaking good. I'm just saying, especially in those one-on-ones. We'll see.
You'd like to see him be able to hold his own. I mean,
yep.
I think I'm a little with DBs and one-on-ones. I mean, it's so stacked against them.
It is. And I'm sure they'll probably let him get away with more contact than he would be able to get away with in games.
Yeah, if DBs are getting beat in one-on-one, I take it with a grain of salt. I mean, if they're just getting,
I'm just saying though, man, you give a guy like that much money, I feel like he should win sometimes. That's all I'm looking for. I want to see a guy highly paid win sometimes as a DB.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure. Don't they do like a half field shell like coverage combos? Do they do that? I mean, we do them. So I mean, instead of working one-on-one, you're working like on like a 2-on-2 or like a third. No,
they don't do that. No, they don't do that. They don't do that.
All
Thank God. Too much to look for. What sucks is when they do 3 1-on-1s at a time. They'll have like wide receivers, corners over here, O-line, D-line over here, and then tight ends and running backs against linebacker safeties over there. It's like, damn, I got to pick one today. Sucks.
Yeah. The reason why I don't like a lot of one-on-one stuff, and I think there's a bunch of coaches that don't, and because one-on-one is essentially zero coverage. And if you're not playing a lot of zero coverage, it really doesn't mean anything. Like when you're lining up as a corner, you're lining up with some things in your head what the receiver can or can't do or where your help is. So you're going to want to be playing that receiver based on where you kind of know your help is, and that's not just doing
a technique. Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, and I think that's one of the things that Richard Sherman was really good at is being aware within the coverage where he can give up ground, where he can't, and then using that to his advantage. And I think the best corners are good at that. So I think to me, like a team like the Ravens, I think one-on-ones are very important because they play so much zero. So yeah, I'm
just saying like. You're right. Like it's really stacked against corners. That being said, when Jason Verrett's healthy, he can win. He can win in that. And it's like, okay, this guy's really freaking good. Like you better bring your A game if you're a wide receiver. You can do a double move. He still might get you. He was that good. I want to see is Ward that because I've seen what it looks like. I've watched Jason Verrett, healthy Jason Verrett, do these things. That's what I'm saying. Like, I've been doing this for 11 years, and I kind of have a somewhat of a memory bank of what it looks like when it's good. I've seen Patrick Willis play. I've seen Davis. So, like, where do you stack up? And you're right, like one-on-ones can lie. A lot of people like Dante Pettis for years and thought he was good in camp, and he was good in one-on-ones. Like he was really tough to cover in one-on-ones because he was kind of shifty. But in 11-on-11s, all of his softness, came out. And I hate to call a professional athlete soft, but comparatively speaking to other professional football players, I just got to say he was. And he would come out. But in one-on-ones, you're not worried about where the safety is, where the linebacker is. It's not an issue.
No.
And people will be like, "Oh, well, he's a punt returner. He can't be worried about that." Well, he's not a punt returner in the NFL. And it's different when you can sort of see the people coming at you in your peripheral as opposed to you're going across the middle and you have no idea where the safety is. No clue. Unless you just know the defense and you have a mental or you're just fearless.
Right.
Or he's not fearless.
Right.
Although he made a valiant effort on that final kick return that knocked him out with the Niners. He just was like, YOLO, come on.
or it's like no pads, and you're just like, you're going balls to walls because there's no pads. And
That's why I wrote him off when I first saw him, because first rookie minicamp, no pads. He alligator armed 2 passes over the middle, and I wrote it. It was like one hand up, like I'm not even gonna try. It's like, dude, it gets tougher. What was that? That's how I knew. But people were like, in one-on-ones, he would make people look silly. He could turn you around. He could spin you around in one-on-ones.
Well, he's still available, so.
No, he's not.
He's not?
Chicago got him. Chicago beat everyone to the punch.
Oh, damn.
Matthew Sanders says, what about the arm fitness? We need more about arm fitness. Play the kid. Can't wait to hear more veiled criticism against Trey. You think someone's going to ask him about that? Like, hey, Trey, do you know what arm fitness means and why people feel you don't have it?
You should ask him.
Trey never really broke character last year in press conferences. We kept trying to get him to let his hair down a little bit, and he wouldn't do it. Maybe it's just because he was young or backup. Maybe that's how he's going to be his whole life. Very buttoned up. He was extremely buttoned up. Meanwhile, you had Big Jimbo dropping curse words left and right. It's like, come on, Trey. Well, you might get the job if you cursed a little bit. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. All right. Next topic. Who do you think will surprise in OTAs? There's usually a guy.
I think the receiver. I think is is it T Martin or Trey Martin? Receiver out of he was at Washington State and then he transferred to Oklahoma State.
Tay Martin.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Tay Martin.
So. Yeah.
He's a UDFA guy. Bigger receiver. Not great physically, but good with his hands, and he has good hands. Red zone target. I think he's a guy that might show.
He looks like Kendrick Bourne 2.0, but they gave him number 49, which is really hard to look at. So hopefully he gets a better number, because I don't feel like that gives him a fair chance to compete. You know what I mean? 49. It's almost like they're trying to stash him.
You should be happy you're not a Patriots reporter, because Belichick just arbitrarily assigns numbers. Like if you're a running back, he'll give you like 75 or in the initial training. Training.
Is it like hazing? Is it like football hazing?
Yeah, because it's like numbers don't matter. He's trying
to go out the door. Numbers don't matter. Whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't Mac Jones 50 or something.
I don't know. Was he?
I think he was 50.
He should have. If I was Belichick, I would have given him 100. But that's just.
We should just say 100 mil. 100 mil.
Yeah, just like literally 100 or 100 mil. Just have a customized jersey, like to have 100 mil.
But hold on, let's see. Is there anyone else that could surprise during OTAs? Because usually there's someone, not just like an undrafted guy that people like in a few years.
Yeah, I think
someone who's gets hyped up as this guy's gonna start or be a contributor. It was Trent Sherfield, or sometimes it's just often a wide receiver.
Yeah, that's why I said him, just not necessarily because it was a rookie, but I could see it be that. And I'm trying to go with a name that we haven't really talked about. We've talked about like Brandon Ayuk probably ad nauseum. Like everyone, I think expects him to have a bigger year, especially with Trey.
Okay, I got a name. Someone who will be surprisingly productive in OTAs.
I have one more on defense.
Okay.
I think Kamiko Turay.
Okay, I like that. The thing about OTAs is the one position group, the two position groups that really produce and have stats: quarterback and wide receivers. So if a guy's catching a lot of passes, he's going to get written about.
Yep.
So one guy like Deebo's gone. He's not going to be there. You got a new quarterback who has different tendencies than Jimmy Garoppolo. So someone who just might have a huge freaking day that hasn't in the past, Juwan Jennings. He might have a day where he has 7 catches. Like, oh, wow. So they're going to feature him this year. Something like that. It could be something like that.
I could see that. And I think we're thinking along the same lines, because my whole idea is I think you're good. Trey Lance is going to bring some things to the game that Jimmy Garoppolo didn't, and I think he's going to be able to make some of those throws in the red zone that Jimmy couldn't, and that's where those bigger receivers, those bigger possession receivers can come into play. Guys like Juwan Jennings and Martin. Yeah,
absolutely. Yep. And then also I want to see what the Ray McLeod thing is, because I feel like Kyle's a little defensive about him. He stuck his neck. He's like the new Jerick McKinnon. Oh, they didn't spend that much, but like they signed him. People were like, "That's it." And Kyle's like, "Yeah, this guy's a baller. He's going to play offense. We're going to feed like, okay, fine. You're a lot smarter than me. Love to see what the plan is. Really curious to see how you just, and I'm sure he's got a plan. I'm sure he's intent on justifying this. I bet you Ray gets a lot of snaps with the starters. He freaking better and get some balls. So I'm curious to see how that goes down.
Is he going to show you his real plan though in OTAs though? You know how Kyle is.
No, and he's not going to show you necessarily how he uses a guy, but he'll tip his hand as to who he's going to be using. I've seen that. Like with George Kittle, I remember it was OTAs his rookie year. He was getting 5-6 targets of practice. I'm like, well, that's highly irregular for a 5th-round rookie. I'm writing about that. You know, I mean, that's a guy who's probably getting prepped for a large role, and he did start a bunch of games as a rookie, and that was back when Vance McDonald was still in the team. So I'm just curious to see who Kyle's going to. Who's he using? Who is he prepping for usage during the season?
Who walks out there as the first center?
Because Juwan got hardly any first-team reps last year. I mean, he was barely on the team. They had a ton of dude. Remember the Mohamed Sanu crap last year? Sorry, Mohamed Sanu was a surprise at OTAs last year, right? Yeah. Everyone was talking about Sanu. He looks so young. No, he doesn't. He looks like exactly how you would think Mohamed Sanu at 33 years old looks. He's turned back the clock. We got that. That was OTAs last year. Really, OTAs has been the time of like really embarrassing reporting because a lot of people just want to say good news, even if they believe it or not. So it's like Solomon Thomas looks like a whole different guy. Like, no, he doesn't. He looks exactly the same. Exactly. So yeah,
flying season. D Ford is primed for a killer year, right?
Yes. Yes. Last year was D Ford looks different. This is gonna.
He did look good in camp. Right. He did look in.
Right. You know? Yeah, of course, because his issue wasn't knees, ankles, soft tissue. It was collisions, neck stuff. So yeah, he looked great in camp. He looked phenomenal. If only football could be played like that
in camp, just in camp.
Hall of Famer. He could play till he's 40. All right. What do you think the 49ers should be looking to accomplish during these next 3-4 weeks of OTAs?
He might be on the 49ers books till he's 40 though.
What should the Niners be looking to accomplish during these OTAs?
I think we kind of talked about it before. Is you got to establish you have to establish Trey Lance as the starter at least.
That's true.
You don't have to establish it in public, but if that to me that seems to be their plan. So he's like we talked about before. He's got to prove that to his teammates. He has to show command of the offense to them, to the coaches. I think that's offensively. That's the first thing. Second thing is got to figure out what the hell you're doing on the offensive line. What's your plan? Like I don't know if they know what Alex Mack is planning on doing or not, but you better have some kind of contingency plan if he's not coming back. What's that going to look like? Your plan at guard. Right, and then defensively, we talked about it before. Is you got to find a nickel, and it's an important spot there. And you know,
I got extra stuff too because this is kind of basic, and like they messed this up last year. No rule violations. Remember last year they did bump and run coverage, and then they posted it on social media like they told on themselves, or one of their players did. So don't do that. Don't get like weeks. Didn't they get certain practices canceled because of that? They got something like, don't do that. And then don't get hella players injured somehow. Because remember, they ended up canceling minicamp too. They had no minicamp because Justin School and Travarius Moore and Jeff Wilson Jr. all went down within like a day. So somehow avoid all that. Just be healthy.
So they should, I mean, right now, they should have already gotten to the rule book for OTAs or had an assistant go in the rule book and make sure whatever they're doing doesn't violate anything.
Yeah.
That should have been on like already. Like don't try to do that. Don't try to do that shit tonight. Like
seriously. Seriously. So yeah, I mean, you want to get the reps for Trey Lance. You want to get some, dry runs for the offense. Don't get anyone hurt, please.
Yeah, no,
please. Because this team, more than others, beats itself with injuries in the offseason when they do get injuries. A lot of stuff in practice and stuff because Kyle's trying to set a culture of hard work. It's like, you know what? I'm sure that's what his dad did, but in the 90s, it was a different pace to practice. There were 2-a-days. They were long. They were grueling. What you were most in danger of was like dehydrating and stuff like that. Not now. It's like you're trying to pack all those reps into 90 minutes, and you're surprised when someone tears an Achilles or tears, has these non-contact. I mean, anyway, don't let that happen, please, because it happened a bunch last year.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, please.
No major injuries. No.
Yeah, just asking nicely. We don't ask for much.
No.
Anyway, anything else you're looking forward to about camp?
Some like actual Niners news. I mean, me personally, instead of just speculating about Trey Lance.
What's tough is people are going to be like, "What do you think of Ty Davis Price?" And be like, "Man, they didn't play football today. I can't really tell you how he's breaking tackles. I'm sorry." Like, for example, I thought Joe Williams was going to be good. I was watching him practice. I was like, "Oh yeah, look at him go!" So running backs are really tough.
Full disclosure, I liked Joe Williams a lot coming in. Like he was a bit when they drafted him, like yeah.
Me too. I actually thought that's the best pick. But what happened is that he didn't want to play football, so I guess that's the problem.
If you don't want, if you don't want to play, that's going to be a big deal.
That's usually, it's not great. It's not ideal.
Nah.
And the fact that he'd already retired once from football probably was an indicator.
So I win. Sorry, guys. That's why I win the 4th round.
Yeah, it is. It's true. Because really, he had the athleticism of a 2nd-round pick.
When I watched him on tape, I'm like, he's a good freaking back. Like, I remember watching him at Utah. I'm like,
super explosive.
Yeah.
Extremely explosive, and he could cut on a dime. And just Joe, give it another shot, Joe. You're not that old.
Yeah. How about
make me look good?
Yeah, he could come back and Glenn Coffey too.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Barry Sanders. All right, I'm done streaming for the day. I got to figure out what my schedule with my dad tomorrow because tomorrow's OTAs day. So figure it out. I'll be down at Santa Clara tomorrow, and I will tell you the truth about how Trey Lance.
What time is OTAs tomorrow?
Practice is 12:20, and then Kyle talks right after. So I might not be able to get my report up immediately because I think we're probably going to go from the field to the press room. But I'll get my stuff out there.
You will be tweeting.
I will be tweeting, yes. But you already know that the spreadsheet's going to try to beat me to the punch and put out his numbers and put it in spreadsheet form. And by the time I get it out, it's like his.
Like if Trey Lance has like a big interception day, everybody's gonna forget about what Jimmy did when Jimmy threw like 6 interceptions in a day. It's gonna be Trey Lance is so awful. He threw 6 interceptions or 3 interceptions.
I wonder because I feel like he's in a rock and a hard place. He feels like the team is going to Trey Lance, and when it goes there, he's going to be Trey Lance's biggest supporter. But they're not there yet, so he's kind of doing the double dutch rock back and forth. But I think he wants to be Team Trey, but will he? I'm curious to see about his coverage. Where does he land this year? He might be Team Trey. He might be.
He might be.
He might be. We might have just Jack holding up the torch for
Jack
for Jamie.
Jack
even Jack's going to be off. I guarantee that.
So only the rapper is going to be.
Actually, no. Jack could be Big Jimmy. He could be Big Team Jimmy. Jack is a dark horse. You never really know where he's coming from. He might be Big Team. We'll see. Anyway, I'm excited to see it because Jack's really good.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's really good. All right, guys. Shardal, I see you out there. Appreciate you, man. Talk to you soon.
Shout out.